My father is worth $500 million and controls Manhattan real estate. But the moment I married someone he didn't approve of, a blue-collar worker, he made me choose, keep the fortune or keep my marriage. I chose love. What happened next? He became the one who lost everything. Hey everyone, I'm Sophia. I'm 28, and I'm sharing the story that completely rewrote my life's script. If you grew up watching your parents measure success in zeros, if family ever made you feel like you weren't enough, if you've had to stand up for your own choices, this story is for you. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read every single one. Let me take you back to 8 months ago, to the night everything changed. My family name opened doors across Manhattan and slammed them shut on anyone who didn't meet my father's standards. Victor Ashford built his empire from concrete and connections, and he believed he owned not just Manhattan, but also the right to control every aspect of my life. Our penthouse sat on the Upper East Side, overlooking Central Park like we owned it. Floor-to-ceiling windows, Italian marble, art that cost more than most houses. Every object carefully selected to announce our superiority. Growing up there meant learning one fundamental truth. Money was everything, and everything had a price. That Thursday evening, I sat around our mahogany dining table, and my father announced what he considered obvious. He didn't ask, he informed. "I've scheduled a meeting for you this weekend with the Wells family," he said, not looking up from his perfectly prepared filet. "Their son would be an excellent match, excellent for business, excellent for our standing, excellent for the future we've planned for you." I set down my fork carefully. The weight of what I was about to say pressed against my chest. "I can't. I'm seeing someone." His head lifted slowly. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. "You've been dating someone I haven't vetted? Someone I haven't investigated or approved? In my family, marriage is business strategy. It's about strengthening our position, securing our legacy. Love," he laughed, and the sound was cold. "Love is what poor people have when they can't afford anything else." He wasn't being dramatic. He was stating fact as he saw it, the foundation upon which his entire world was built. Money, power, and the absolute certainty that he had the right to control everything and everyone in his orbit. The worst part? I'd believed him too. I'd escaped a brutal board meeting where my father criticized my marketing proposal in front of the entire team. After 3 years of working at his company, after earning my MBA, after dedicating myself to building something meaningful, I was still perpetually a child playing dress-up in his eyes. Adequate, he'd called my work, acceptable for someone still learning. I needed to disappear. I found a small coffee shop tucked into Brooklyn, the kind where nobody recognized my last name and nobody cared who my father was. Mismatched wooden chairs, a menu written in chalk, the smell of dark roast and possibility. I ordered a black coffee and sat in a corner, trying to remember how to breathe. That's when he noticed me. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with honest brown eyes and hands that told a story of actual work. He wore a faded flannel shirt with oil stains on the sleeves and moved like someone who didn't need anyone's approval. When he noticed me staring at the same cup of coffee for 10 minutes without drinking, he simply sat down across from me, uninvited, but somehow I didn't mind. "Rough day?" he asked. We talked for 3 hours. He told me about his auto repair shop in Queens, about the satisfaction of fixing something broken, about the people he worked with who treated each other with actual respect. He asked about my dreams, my interests, the things that made me feel alive. Not once did he ask about my family or what my father did or what my last name meant. When walking me to the subway, he said something that rewired my understanding of what it meant to be loved. "I don't care what your last name is. I don't care what your family has or who your father is. I just want to know what makes you laugh." No one had ever said that to me before. No one had ever suggested that my value had nothing to do with my portfolio or my connections or my family's place in the world. That was the moment I understood what love actually felt like. 3 days after mentioning Marcus's name, my father summoned me to his office. A manila folder sat on his desk. "Marcus Webb, age 32, 1-bedroom apartment worth $300,000. Repair shop with yearly revenue under 200,000. No assets of significance. No family connections. Nothing. He looked at me with disgust. A mechanic from Queens is your choice? He's a good person. Good men get consumed by empires, not built them. I had someone investigate him thoroughly. They found nothing. No scandals, no secrets, no leverage. Just an unremarkable person. I left that folder on his desk and walked out. What I didn't know, Marcus had been very, very careful about what he hid. Marcus proposed on a Sunday morning in his small apartment. Pancakes slightly burned, a simple diamond ring, and words that made me believe in forever. "I'm not what your family expects," he said. "I can't offer penthouses or private jets, but I promise I'll never control you, never diminish you, and I'll spend every day making you happy." I said yes before he finished speaking. When I told my mother, she responded with manufactured pain. "You're destroying this family. You're throwing away your future for someone ordinary." My brother texted, "Marrying a poor mechanic. Bold move. Have fun slumming it in Queens." My father's call came last. His voice was ice. "I'll give you a wedding you'll never forget." I should have heard the threat, but I was too happy to notice the blade being sharpened. The wedding disaster started at the bridal shop. My credit cards declined. All of them. The bank informed me. My father had revoked my access to every account. In a fitting room surrounded by wedding dresses I suddenly couldn't afford, I called Marcus in tears. He arrived with stacks of $100 bills, far more cash than any mechanic should casually carry. Something flickered in my mind, but I was too overwhelmed to examine it. Then the social devastation began. Every friend from my entire life suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Group chats went silent. Text after text arrived. "My parents do business with your father. Nothing personal. Hope you understand." 28 years of friendships instantly erased. At my company, I was quietly removed from client-facing work. The corner office I'd earned was suddenly restructured. Every door slammed shut, not with a bang, but with the sound of money talking. My grandmother's attorney, Margaret Chen, kept calling. She'd been Grandma's lawyer before she passed 2 years ago, the only person in my family who'd ever truly seen me. I was too busy drowning to grab the life raft being thrown my way. Marcus found us an apartment in Brooklyn. No doorman, no marble, no view of Central Park. Just a bright 2-bedroom in a brownstone with creaky floors and a tiny balcony overlooking a community garden. Standing in those empty rooms, I started to cry. Not disappointment, relief. My father's shadow couldn't reach here. Here, I could breathe. He held me while I sobbed out years of pressure I didn't know I was carrying. He didn't promise to fix everything. He just stayed. 3 months into our marriage, my father showed up at our door unannounced. He stood in our Brooklyn apartment like a designer suit in a thrift store, looking at our modest living room with disgust. "I'm offering you $10 million. Cancel the marriage. Come home. We'll forget this rebellion ever happened." A blank check for $10 million. I looked at it, more money than I could earn in a lifetime, and felt nothing. "I'm not for sale, Dad." His face twisted ugly. "Then you're a fool. When this marriage fails, don't come crawling back. You'll be nothing, just like him." Something cold passed between him and Marcus, a look I didn't understand. Marcus simply said, "I think you should leave." My father did. But before walking out, he said something prophetic. "Enjoy her while you can. When the shine wears off and she realizes what she's sacrificed, she'll resent you." Marcus didn't flinch. "I don't think she will." We planned an intimate ceremony. 50 guests. Simple. Hours. We arrived to find 250 additional guests already seated. Manhattan's elite in Chanel and bespoke suits, uninvited and unapologetic. My father's world, crashing my celebration like he owned it. Because to him, he did. The atmosphere shifted when my father stood during the reception, champagne in hand. "I built everything I have from nothing," he announced to the entire room. "Every dollar earned through sacrifice. I dreamed my daughter would marry someone worthy of that legacy. Instead, she chose this, a grease monkey from Queens. a parasite with calloused hands and empty pockets. Phones rose. People recorded. Effective immediately, my daughter is removed from my will. She is cut off from her trust fund and stripped of any claim to my properties. She chose poverty. Now she gets exactly what she asked for. He raised his glass. Congratulations, Sophia. You're finally getting everything you deserve. The silence was deafening. Marcus rose slowly, straightened his simple navy tie, and faced my father with an expression I'd never seen, calm, controlled, almost amused. Thank you for coming, Mr. Ashford, and thank you for your blessing. My father laughed harshly. I just told you you're getting nothing. I heard you, Marcus said quietly, and I want you to know we don't need it. You own a garage worth less than my watch. What exactly can you offer my daughter? Marcus smiled, that small private smile that sent a chill down my spine. Something more important than money, Mr. Ashford? I have her. Somewhere in the crowd, an older man stood. Silver-haired, distinguished, watching with sharp eyes and a knowing smile. My father glanced at him, then back at Marcus, and for just a moment, something flickered across his face. Uncertainty, the sense that he was missing something crucial. I turned to face 300 people waiting for me to crumble. The socialites, the businessmen calculating my fall, the reporters already writing headlines about my humiliation. My father believes love is a transaction, I said, my voice steady and clear. He believes family is a business arrangement and people are either valuable or worthless. I spent 28 years trying to be valuable in his eyes, and I got adequate, acceptable, never good enough. Today, I chose something different. I chose to be loved for who I am, not what I'm worth. If anyone came here to watch a tragedy, I'm sorry to disappoint you. This is a celebration. If you want to stay and actually celebrate with us, welcome. If not, the door is right there. About 30 people left. Nearly 270 stayed, including some of my father's own guests. The wedding became ours again. The honeymoon lasted 6 weeks. That's when my hope of finding work finally died. I applied to 43 marketing positions. Every rejection came back. The Ashford name, which once opened doors, now slammed them shut. Nobody risked offending my father by hiring me. Maybe I should look outside the city, I said one night, staring at another rejection email. Marcus was quiet, watching the city lights. Or maybe you shouldn't work for anyone else. I have $3,000 to my name, Marcus. He didn't answer, just watched me with those calm brown eyes that I was beginning to realize hid something significant. At 3 a.m. one morning, I found his side of the bed empty. Through the cracked bedroom door, I saw him on the phone, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. The quarterly projections need adjustment before the board meeting. Don't push it to Williams. I'll handle the technical review myself. When he saw me, he quickly ended the call. Work stuff, he said with a small smile. Go back to sleep. I returned to bed but lay awake for hours, wondering when mechanics started having board meetings. 3 months after our wedding, a lawyer named Margaret Smith called again. I finally answered. Her office smelled like old money and confidential conversations. Your grandmother left you something, Margaret explained, sliding a folder across her desk. Before she passed, she established a trust independent of anything your father controls. She instructed me to inform you only after you married someone of your own choosing without his approval. I stared at her. She knew exactly what kind of man your father was, Margaret continued. She wanted to ensure you had options. The trust contained $500,000. Inside was a letter in my grandmother's elegant script. My darling, if you're reading this, you finally chose your own path. I am so proud. Your grandfather and I built our life on love, not money. We had nothing when we started and everything when we ended because we had each other. This money is freedom. Use it to build the life you want. Never let anyone tell you what you're worth. I cried in that office for 20 minutes. For the first time in months, they were tears of hope. 5 months after the wedding, I launched Thornton Creative, named after my grandmother's maiden name, deliberately separating myself from my father's legacy. Small office in Soho. No employees at first, just me, my MBA, and my determination to prove something to myself. The first client was the coffee shop where I met Marcus. They needed social media help, and I charged half price just to build my portfolio. Word spread, not through Manhattan's elite networks, but through real New York, people who judged work by results, not family names. Within 2 months, I had more clients than I could handle alone. "I'm proud of you," Marcus said one evening, watching me work at our kitchen table. "I couldn't have done this without Grandma's trust, or you believing in me." He smiled that quiet smile. "You would have found a way." That week, I received an email that made me freeze. Nexus AI Technologies is interested in discussing a potential marketing partnership with your firm. We're impressed by your work with emerging businesses. I'd never heard of Nexus AI, but a quick search showed they were one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Strange how they found my tiny firm. Very strange indeed. The business news that month was dominated by one story. Nexus AI was looking for real estate partners to build a $50 million data center on the East Coast. Every developer in New York wanted it, including my father. Derek posted on Instagram, "Dad closing in on the biggest deal of the decade. Ashford Properties plus Nexus AI equals fire." "Did you see the news about Nexus AI?" Marcus asked casually when he came home. "Everyone's talking about it." "Why?" "No reason," he said with that small private smile. "Just interesting that your father wants it so badly." Something cold trickled down my spine. "James, what aren't you telling me?" He took my hand and kissed it. "Everything. Soon, I promise." 2 weeks before a tech gala, Marcus sat me down on a Sunday morning after making pancakes. His face was serious in a way I'd rarely seen. "The auto shop is real. I do fix cars. But it's not what I do for a living. It's a hobby to stay grounded." "Stay grounded from what?" He met my eyes. "I work in tech, Sophia. I'm not just a mechanic. I'm significantly involved in the industry." I stared at him. "What does significantly involved mean?" "It means I'm not poor. Not even close." He paused. "I've been hiding the truth because I needed to know that someone could love me for who I am, not for what I have." My hands were shaking. "Just tell me." "Not yet. Not completely, but there's a gala in 2 weeks. I need you to see it for yourself." He pulled an elegant envelope from his pocket. "VIP access, guest of honor." I whispered, "Who are you?" He took my face in his hands. "I'm the man who loves you. Everything else is just details." I spent 2 weeks obsessively researching Nexus AI. The company was famous for privacy. No photos of leadership, no public information. Just a reputation for brilliant innovation and a mysterious founder who avoided the spotlight. Forbes had called him the billionaire nobody's seen. I thought about Marcus's late-night phone calls about board meetings, the technical jargon I'd overheard, the casual stacks of cash, the mysterious older man at our wedding. The pieces were all there. I'd just been too close to see the picture. The Metropolitan Museum had been transformed. 500 of the most powerful people in technology, finance, and media mingled beneath Renaissance masterpieces. I walked in on Marcus's arm in a Valentino black gown, suddenly feeling inadequate against the designer gowns surrounding us. But Marcus moved through the crowd like he owned it, nodding to people who nodded back with deference I couldn't explain. Then I saw them. My father, my mother, and Derek, working the room with practiced smiles. My father's eyes swept the crowd constantly, searching. Then they landed on me. His face went through several emotions: confusion, recognition, contempt. He started walking toward us. Sophia. What a surprise. I didn't realize they let the help into these events. Marcus said nothing, just watched him with unsettling calm. "Don't tell me you crashed the party," my father continued, looking around for an audience. Before Marcus could respond, the lights dimmed. A hush fell over the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, "tonight marks a historic moment. For the first time ever, the founder and CEO of Nexus AI will address the public in person." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My father leaned forward, adjusting his tie. Please welcome the CEO and founder of Nexus AI Technologies, valued at $4.7 billion. James Carter. The room erupted in applause. My father's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. Marcus walked onto that stage like he'd been born there. The screens behind him lit up with his name, his face, his title. CEO and founder, Nexus AI Technologies. I watched my father's face drain completely of color. For the first time in my life, I saw Richard Ashford at a complete loss for words. Marcus spoke for 20 minutes. Brilliant, articulate, magnetic. The audience hung on every word. I barely heard any of it. I was too busy watching my father slowly turn to stone. When Marcus finished, the standing ovation was thunderous. During the reception, Marcus walked directly to where my father sat, seemingly unable to stand. Mr. Ashford, I believe you wanted to discuss a business partnership. My father looked up, his mouth opening and closing several times. You're the CEO of the company I've been pursuing for 2 years. Perhaps you've heard of us, Marcus said pleasantly, offering his business card. Forbes later confirmed, James Carter was worth $4.7 billion. My husband was richer than my father by a factor of 2. My father recovered with practice speed, his businessman's smile sliding into place. James, I had no idea. This is wonderful news. I always told Fiona she had excellent taste. The lie was so blatant I almost laughed. Marcus didn't take his extended hand. You told me I was trash, Mr. Ashford. You called me a parasite. You said I had nothing to offer your daughter. I didn't know. Whether I fixed cars or ran companies, I was the same person. The only thing that's changed is your perception of my value. Marcus finally took his hand, but not to shake it. He pressed his own business card into my father's palm, which says more about you than about me. Around them, people watched, listened, recorded on their phones. Let's discuss this privately, my father said desperately. The data center deal. I'm sure we can arrange something beneficial for everyone. I've already made my decision, Marcus replied, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by the nearby crowd. Nexus AI will not be partnering with Ashford Properties. What? Why? Because I don't do business with people who treat their families like assets to be traded. Marcus slid his arm around my waist. Your daughter chose love over money. You punished her for it. I don't reward that kind of behavior. By morning, the story was on every business page in America. Richard Ashford had just lost the biggest deal of his career to his own son-in-law. The fallout was immediate. By midnight, the wedding video where my father called Marcus trash was everywhere, now with context. The man he'd publicly humiliated was worth $4.7 billion, the headlines wrote themselves. Real estate tycoon mocks son-in-law. Turns out he's a tech billionaire. Within a week, 2 of my father's business partners announced they were reviewing their arrangements. One major investor pulled out of a development project. Derek showed up at our apartment 3 days later, actually ringing the doorbell like a civilized person. I wanted to apologize, he said uncomfortably. For the things I said, the Instagram posts. You wanted to apologize, Marcus said calmly. Or you wanted access. Derek's face reddened. Come on, man. We're family now. Think about the partnerships we could create. The same family that disowned my wife, Marcus replied, opening the door. You made your choice 6 months ago, Derek. We're not family. We're just people who share a relative. Some people only apologize when they want something. My mother called 3 times before I answered. Her voice was thick with tears. Real or manufactured, I couldn't tell anymore. Darling, I always supported you. I wanted to speak up at the wedding, but your father... You didn't say a word, Mom. I was afraid. You know how he is when he's angry. You had to protect yourself, I said quietly. What about protecting me? Silence. Then I told her about the email Grandma's lawyer found, the one my mother had sent to my father 2 days before my wedding. She needs to learn. Let her struggle for a few months. She'll come crawling back and marry Harrison like she should. That was taken out of context, she tried. Was it? You didn't defend me, Mom. You helped plan my punishment. I took a breath. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. If you want to be part of my life, really part of it, you'll have to earn it through actions, not words. Some boundaries need to be built with silence. My father came alone. No driver, no entourage, no designer armor. Just a tired man in wrinkled clothes with something I'd never seen before on his face. Genuine humility. I've lost 3 partnerships this week, he said quietly, looking around our modest apartment. The board is discussing whether to remove me as CEO of my own company. He laughed bitterly. Public humiliation has consequences. I'd waited my whole life to hear an apology. When it finally came, I felt tired instead of vindicated. I don't need your apology, Dad. I need you to understand that I'm happy. Not because my husband turned out to be rich. I was happy before I knew. I'm happy because I'm respected, supported, loved for who I am. I stepped closer. Can you understand that? Something shifted in his face. Maybe not full understanding, but something. I'm trying, he said. Then try harder. I'm willing to have you in my life, Dad, but not as someone who controls me, not as someone who judges my worth by my husband's bank account, just as my father. Nothing more. He nodded slowly. I don't know how to do that. Then learn, I said, one conversation at a time. 1 year after our wedding, Thornton Creative had 15 employees, not because of Marcus's money or connections, but because of referrals from satisfied clients and a reputation I'd built one project at a time. We'd just signed our biggest contract, a year-long campaign for a Fortune 500 company who found us through word of mouth. Marcus still went to the garage on weekends. He said it kept him grounded, reminded him of who he was before the billions. Sometimes I joined him, learning the names of engine parts and watching this brilliant billionaire get lost in the simple satisfaction of fixing things. My father was still learning too. Our relationship wasn't healed, might never be fully, but he was trying. He'd started therapy. He asked me to coffee twice, and both times he asked questions about my life instead of talking about himself. Progress, not perfection. That Christmas, we celebrated at Marcus's mother's house in Connecticut. A cozy colonial with a garden and real laughter. No designer decorations or catered meals, just family. Any regrets? Marcus asked, pulling me close as snow fell outside the window. I thought about the penthouse I'd lost, the trust fund that vanished, the $200 million I'd never inherit. Then I thought about building something with my own hands. About being loved for who I was, about my grandmother's words. Never let anyone tell you what you're worth. Not a single one, I said. He kissed me, and the snow kept falling. Real wealth isn't measured in bank accounts. It's measured in the peace you feel when you finally stop trying to be who everyone else wants you to be and just become yourself. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. First, don't let anyone define your worth by money, not even family, especially not family. Second, actions speak louder than words. When people show you who they are, believe them. And when they suddenly change after learning your value, be skeptical. Third, true love doesn't ask you to abandon who you are. It gives you room to grow into who you're meant to be. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story meant something to you, hit that like button and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss another story. And drop a comment. Should I have forgiven my father completely? I read every single one.